So it says good connection right now, so we'll see if we could roll with it. So good connection right now, so let's see what happens here with this good connection. It says I have good connection, so all right, so as I said before, right, I want to talk about manifesting using higher dimensions. So that's what we're going to touch on a little bit, higher dimensions here. So let's get into it. So it says good connection. So all right, so as I was saying, so I want to spread some awareness for people out there to understand like how their world works, how their reality and all this stuff works to manifest stuff. So someone asked me the fastest way to manifest something. This is what I'm going to get into right now. The fastest way to manifest is you have to get into higher dimensions. Higher dimensions is where all the stuff come into our world. That's how you're going to manifest something really fast. So as I was saying before, right, that all of the stars, the planets, everything that's physical that you can see, including you and I, we only make up 4% of reality. So 96% of reality, it is out there, but it is just not visible to us. So those who can see the invisible are those who can do the impossible. Let me repeat that. Those who can see the invisible or the hidden reality, the hidden dimensions, they are the ones that can do impossible stuff like manifest fast, like be successful in business, achieve their goals and desires, because they know how to tap into that higher dimension. A lot of us are stuck in a 3D dimension, our physical world. So what is a 3D dimension? What is 3D dimensions? We hear about 3D dimensions and you hear about 5D dimension, right? So a 3D dimension is a physical world that our brains are stuck in and we perceive our world. But that's not reality. That's just a fraction of reality. Reality is actually bigger. It's hidden dimensions. Science and physicists are just understanding this. I'm sure you heard of dark matter, dark energy. Let me tell you about dark matter and dark energy. It's not dark. So they don't even know the reason they call it dark. Let me put it like this. Science and physicists don't even know what the true nature of reality is. They don't even know the particles that make it up. We only know 4%. The other 96% of stuff, they give it names called dark matter and dark energy because light doesn't interact with that world. The light from this world doesn't interact, so they can't even see what it is. So that's why they call it dark, because the light doesn't interact. But we don't know what it is. Dark matter is the stuff that makes our galaxy spin. It's a force that governs everything. The dark energy is a force that is expanding the universe. The universe is expanding and no one knows why. And something is pulling it apart, something is expanding it. So I'm just giving you a peer into the bigger picture of what reality is. So whenever you're up in the morning and you're like going through your day, now you're going to remember what I just said, that hey, this stuff is just a fraction. So what I'm seeing is not real stuff. It's not, what I mean by real stuff, it's actually a small percent and it's hidden because the real true nature of reality is unknown. And that's going to take me into the higher dimensions now. And that's where we call 5D. So these higher dimensions of reality are things that you can only access in your mind. Let me repeat that. The higher dimensions of reality is not a physical place. It's a place of a mental aptitude. It's an etheric place. You have to go there in your mind. Now, they have higher dimensions that are physical places, but in parallel worlds. 7th, 8th dimension, parallel worlds. Those are physical places, but you and I can never get there because we don't interact. We just have the technology. You can't even see it, it's so far. Okay? Do you ever manifest a girl you wanted? Wow, that's a random question. Where did that come from? All right. How do you have that much knowledge? Self-taught, reading, meditating, just things just downloaded to me. I get a lot of downloads. So I get a lot of downloads and I share them. That's part of my spiritual calling or awakening to do this stuff. So let's go into these higher dimensions of manifestation. Alright? Higher levels. Hey, what's up, my friend? Manifesting Leaders. Guys, check Manifesting Leaders out. He's great. Good stuff on TikTok. So to get to these higher dimensions, then, it takes a mindset. So people always say to me, well, Mark, like man, how do you manifest this stuff? Like, how did you do this? How did you, like, get where you're at right now and all this stuff you're manifesting, you know, like the lottery and just anything in general. They want to know, man, like, what are you doing? What's your secret? How are you just doing these stuff? Is it luck, or are you doing something that anyone can do? And the answer is, I'm doing something that everyone can do. So let me share. I can share my secret with you, but I do it over and over. You know, some people will get this, and some people will do it, but a majority of people probably won't do this stuff because maybe their minds aren't there yet, and they don't have the belief pattern yet. But I'll share it anyway with you, and it's so simple. And you got to remember, the most simplest things are genius stuff. Genius is when someone can take the complex and make it very simple for everyone to understand. That's the definition of a genius. Think about it. The best ideas are just, man, I would have thought that. It's so simple. So here's what I would do, and this is what I do every night. There's a lot of different methods out there. Like, okay, you got to write, you got to script, and you got to do all that stuff. This personally, Mark, now, I've never written down anything. I've never scripted anything. Okay, and that's deliberately. What I did was, I did one simple method. Every night when I go to bed and I close my eyes, I made a deal with my mind 5 years ago. And I said, every night when we go to sleep, you are going to think of something that makes you feel good. Mark is going to think of something that he likes to manifest. So every night I would go to sleep, I would close my eyes, and that's how I get into those higher dimensions. I would visualize myself in third person. I would pretend like I'm watching a movie. So I'm like the guy watching myself in a movie from third person. And I would see the kind of life I wanted. I would see the stuff I wanted. I'd see where I want to be. All that stuff, I did that every single night. And when I did that, that's when my life changed. I never wrote anything down, man. Now, some people, writing may be good for them or scripting may be good for them. But I'm showing you something, a big picture. I'm showing you something very profound here. That if any one of you can see something in your head that you want, and you can do it repeatedly, you tap into higher dimension. You tap into beyond the 3D world. You tap into that world where physicists are confused or they're baffled. They don't even know what it's called. They call it dark matter, dark energy. But you tap into a 96% invisible world that brings it here. So the question is, well, how do you know this, man? Can you prove it? Yeah, I can prove it, because when I did it, visualize it, it became my mirror, it became my reality. How can that happen? How can a guy sit down every night and fall asleep and think about what he wants, and some of those stuff actually come out to a T? They play out the exact same way in my 3D. So what I discovered was, I started to think about it. I started to theorize, and I had a theory, and I said, I said, so this 3D world is like, I compare it to fire. So this is where the aha moment went off for me. So whenever you light a fire emits what? Smoke, right? That's how you know it's a fire. So when I started saying, I said, okay, so actual reality is leaking from that hidden world into this world. That's why I see all these physical stuff. So the real world is the hidden world. So what I'm seeing right now is the leakage from that hidden world into this world. So I'm just tapping into it, because when I visualize something, it's not in this world. I mean, if you know how your mind works, when you close your eyes and you visualize something, you're not in a three-dimensional world anymore. Whenever you're in a mental image, you're not in a world where space or time is affected, because again, if you think about it, people may not know this, when you're dreaming or when you're in a dream, time doesn't exist. You can't see time in a dream. You never see the clock. You never see like what you never feel time in a dream. That's because your subconscious mind doesn't operate in this 3D world with what we call linear time. It's very important for you to get that. So when I understood that, and I said to myself, I said, oh man, so this is how it works. So when I go into this higher dimension of these different levels of consciousness, which is the visualization, which is like just the meditating and all that stuff, I tap into that world. And then because I'm in that world, my thoughts in my mind are so free-flowing that because there's no resistance in that world. Okay? So that's the way it works. My picture is not black. It's just that you aren't able to see. I mean, I love that comment because that's a perfect example of reality. What you want is already there, but you just can't see it. Point blank. I get a lot of requests, but I'm very skeptical about putting people on because I keep getting like weird people talk about other stuff. So if TikTok don't filter out where I can get someone who wants to talk like conscious stuff about what I'm talking about. There's always people who want to talk about something else. And like, I don't know, so I'm not going to take any. If it's someone I know and I know you're like a conscious creator or someone, I'll put you on and you'll do a share. But I'm not going to put anybody on because I keep getting all these weird people up here. I'll talk about something else. All right. So what people need to understand is, and this, and I'll repeat it again. I'm going to put it in your head till you get it because you need to know this. That all the rocks, the land, the sea, the air, the planets, the stars, the galaxies, everything that you see is 4%. 96% of the real world is hidden from your senses. Hear this now. It's 96% of the real world or real reality is there, but it's something that your senses cannot interact with. When I mean senses, I'm talking about physical senses, 5 senses: smell, touch, taste, hear, touch, feel. You cannot interact, but nevertheless it is there. And we know it's there because we see evidence of how it's pulling the stars apart, it's rotating it, and physicists and scientists, they can't even figure out like what the heck's going on. They don't even know what the force is. And you know, in our world we have light. Light is what we primarily use. It's called photon. It's a particle. It's part of the 4%. That light does not interact with that reality. So that tells you that got to be some exotic type of matter or some new type of energy. And has anyone ever thought that energy, that new matter, might just be our consciousness? That's my theory on it. I believe the 96% of the hidden reality is a force of our consciousness. And the reason you can't, because you cannot measure consciousness. You cannot measure awareness. And the reason I say that is because whenever I visualize something in my mind's eye, you cannot measure a visual aspect in your brain in real time. And the reason you can't measure it, it's very simple, is because it has no time variance there. Time cannot exist. You know, in order for us to do stuff, what we call empirical evidence in our physical world, we have to incorporate time, we have to incorporate motion, we have to incorporate all the 4 fundamental forces that govern our universe, which is the strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, electromagnetic force, and gravity. Those are the 4 forces that holds our world together. But those are just a tiny fraction. There's other forces that haven't been discovered and you don't know yet. And the reason I'm putting this to you guys, because I want you guys to see a bigger picture and to understand that just because what people tell you and you see and you think you can do not listen to them. You gotta trust your own stuff and do your own thing. Because when I visualize every night, man, the things that I visualize, they come to pass. So why do I visualize only in the night? Why do I do that? Well, I did that because I know one thing profound about my mind and my consciousness. I know that my subconscious mind is what is the gateway that connects me to that higher dimension. So I said to myself, I was like, man, how can I get my subconscious to accept what I want? Because I know that during the daytime, my subconscious is like running programs. It's not going to listen to Mark during the daytime. It's doing background music. It's playing what it's already learned. So I was like, okay, that's going to be hard, man. Because I got my regular mind operating during the daytime. My conscious mind is in the beta state, so my ego is all doing its thing. And my subconscious is in the background. So I said, I got to find a way to get my subconscious mind to listen to me. And that's when I learned, I said, whenever I'm going to sleep, my conscious mind will shut off. And then my subconscious now opens for my instruction. And that's why I do it at night. And I can do it in the morning too, because then my subconscious is still in a little bit of that state for about a couple of hours. And I started doing that. And that's when I started to see like the big change coming. I started to see the things that I was in my head that was coming. And I want you to think about what I'm saying here, because people just think, look, I put an image in my head. Okay? I put an image in my head. And I see myself, and I see stuff in my head. And the stuff I see in my head becomes the stuff in my real 3D world. That's what I want to that's what I want to get here. That's higher dimension. Everyone should master the art, because it's an art. Visualization is an art, because it takes time to practice, because some people have just been turned off from it. They don't even know what it is. They don't even. The fact is, though, people do visualize, but they do it unconsciously, and they do it the wrong way. You know what they do? They visualize all the bad stuff happening to them. Like, man, they always see the worst. We always see the worst, and that's why the worst tends to manifest, because our brains have inherently fused to manifest bad stuff more than good stuff. You can learn that through what's called epigenetics. So, to put further evidence to what I'm showing you now, so everyone heard about, maybe you haven't, but it's called a double slit experiment, where they're showing that reality cannot exist without an observer, which is you. You all heard of that. So if you're like a spiritual person or into physics or in reality, know how the mind works and all that stuff, then you're probably familiar with the double slit. But the double slit experiment shows that the stuff that make up our world cannot exist without me as a conscious observer. Yeah, vision boards are good. You can do vision boards, but I like vision boards, but I go everything in my head. I am so good at seeing vivid images in my mind, and I practice that. So that's what I do. But yeah, vision boards are good. But the more powerful thing is if you can get to understand, like to visualize and use your imagination, start to use your visual aspect. It takes you to a whole other field. But let's talk about the double slit. So double slit is on the quantum world, right? So many people say, well, the quantum physics stuff or the quantum world doesn't really relate to what's called the real world. So in the real world, they call it the macro and the macro and micro world. Macro is real world, micro world is quantum physics. So they always say, well, quantum physics acts weird, but it doesn't mesh with the macro world. But now we're starting to see now it's meshing, because now for the first time, our researchers have proved the double slit experiment on a molecule. Not quantum particles, a molecule. Molecules are what? Physical stuff. Your cells break down to molecules. So now we're seeing like, oh snap. So it's really true, from the quantum is affecting the macro world. And it's just going to get better and better and better. So that's how I discovered this stuff, and that's why I started to do it. And I'm spreading awareness and teaching people how to do this. Because I think too, a lot of people, a lot of individuals aren't even aware that they have like a mind that has different compartments, right? Some people don't know about the subconscious mind. I would estimate maybe up to 80 or 90% people. And also, a lot of people don't understand that they run on a program. That their minds are like a program. It's their habits and actions. They get up in the morning, they do the same stuff every day. It's a program, and people don't understand that. And it's because it's just not taught that way. It's not going to teach you that. And also because I think a lot of people, if they understood this, they'd have more control of their life, and they'll be able to change their course of their life. So if you're someone that's watching this live right now, and you may be wondering like, okay, why am I not getting my desires or manifesting? This may be the reason why. Maybe you don't understand, or you haven't been awakened or alert that, you know, you've been focusing on a 3D aspect of a world, which I can't blame you, because that's what you inherently is around. But there's this other world that is just comes from that world. So what I'm saying to you is, in the 5D world, you want to call it 5D or a higher dimensional world, reality is leaking from that world into this world. That's where the real reality is. That's where that's where everything manifests first. Then it leaks into this world. That's where the fire is, and this is where the smoke. See the smoke? Fire is there, and the smoke leaks into our reality. So you can say that real reality is in that invisible world, and then this is what we get as a physical world. And then if you want to get deeper aspect of it, it really says that you really do become what you think about. And remember that science can't measure this. They have a thing in physics called the measurement problem, and it's very difficult to measure awareness, your state of being aware, or consciousness, your thoughts, what they're actually, it's difficult to measure this because you cannot measure something that you don't have instruments that can pick it up. It's not just going to work, And next thing, anybody can access this world. You all have that. You all have the ability to do that. That's the most trippiest thing about it. It's not like it's a rocket science. Anyone can close their eyes right now, or they can look inside and they can visualize something. Anybody can do it. Once you do that, you tap into that world. Once you do that, you can't measure that world, because that world doesn't have time, doesn't exist there. Like I said, when you dream, guys, do you know that when you're dreaming in your dream, you will never see time in your dream. Your mind will never put something like in hours or days, or your dream is one continuous thing. Have you ever noticed that? It's not coincidence. It's because the subconscious is accessing that world. Okay? What did you manifest for yourself that is significant physical? A lot of stuff. Businesses, platforms to teach. A lot of stuff in the lottery. I won a lot of lottery jackpot prizes. Just a lot of stuff. Just like financial freedom. Just be able to live my life on my terms, and so physical stuff. But I don't even look at stuff physical anymore. I look at stuff now from that world, and then what it comes down here, I perceive it as physical. So even the word physical I took out of my vocabulary. I don't even see the world as physical. I see the world as immaterial now, because it's all about convincing my mind like where the true stuff comes from. So when I get into like physical stuff, I set limitation, because physical means limited. It means physical stuff means I can't go through this wall. I can't do that. In material world, I could walk through the wall. I could go beyond the wall. I go to the edge of the universe and come back. So I look at reality as the true nature of it, which is immaterial. And that's another one people don't understand. That reality is immaterial. Your reality is not physical. You perceive it as physical. And the reason it perceives as physical is just because of how the brain acclimated to create these senses that interact. Your senses fool you every day. The reason you taste stuff is not because it's physical. It's a sense in your brain telling you that's a taste. So even the stuff you're tasting isn't real. It's your brain telling you it's tasted real. People don't get that stuff. They don't understand that. And it has to be known. So your brain just developed and it evolutionized the best way to cope to make your world. And it's doing its best job. That's why you can see 4%. But look at the 4%, right? The 4% is like abundant. But imagine tapping into the 96%. And that's why I say people, those who can see the hidden world, can do the impossible. So when you're successful in your trade, and like successful basically means when you're living life on your terms. It means like when you have freedom to do what you want. That's my definition of success. So when you have that, you are a person that is tapping into that world. That you cannot do that from a 3D world. Some people do it consciously, some people do it unconsciously, but nevertheless you're tapping into that world, point blank. And so you got to start to see your world as immaterial. So physical, nope. Everything is immaterial. People, everything I interact with, I know what it is. I know it's a sound wave, it's a vibration. These particles, these atomic particles, they have different charges. You know what a charge is, right? Let's just make it simple for you. A charge is like different frequency of electromagnetic stuff. So not two particles are never the same. They're gonna have different charge. Positron, negative, positive. So based on the charge, they give off a different resonance, or what we call, people call it vibration, but it's really oscillation. Nothing really vibrates, guys. It oscillates. It's kind of like vibration, but everything oscillates. It's kind of the same thing. And then when they give off a charge, based on the way they oscillate, you see physical stuff, you see a house, you see a car, you see water, solid, liquid, gas. It's just based on the charge of the atomic particle and how fast it oscillates. That's why it looks physical. If you think about something, when something vibrates so fast, it looks physical. That's why things look physical. It's vibrating at such a fast rate. When it slows down, it becomes imminent. And the best way to do it is if you're like they call a movie frame. Movie frame goes like what, 26 bits per second. But if you slow the frame down, you'll see the person like but you speed it up, it looks like, see that? That's kind of how reality works. And the brain is just processing stuff at that rate. So when you see people around you and when you see a house and a boat, it's just because the different charges vibrate at different frequencies and they look that way. Next question is, okay, so if that's the case, then why do we see the same things then? Well, because there's another component to our minds and our brains. Everything is connected as a network. It's called a collective subconscious. So because now we see stuff in our world, it puts into our head. So when I see a red car, you're gonna know it's a red car because it's already been programmed in a collective subconscious. So when you hear say everything vibrates, it's actually not true. It oscillates. So everything oscillates. Oscillation and vibration is two different. Oscillation has to do with troughs and what we call waves. So reality is actually more of like a wave. You ever hear of collapsing the wave function in physics? So think about this. Everything is a wave, and what they mean in wave, it means simple. Everything before it comes into your reality becomes a wave of possibility. It put it in mathematical equations to say that before a particle appears as a physical stuff, its natural state is a wave. All particles behave that way. They become a wave, and then they become an electron. They become a boson. They become physical stuff. That wave is what I theorize is coming from that world, that potential. So when I talk about collapsing a wave function, it's me collapsing what I want in my mind's eye over and over again, and before it becomes a physical world. All right. So that's how this stuff works. That's how your reality works. That's how your mind works. So to get to the higher dimensions, you're going to start to do meditation. You want to start to visualize. Those two components will take you to that next level. And meditation is basically just chilling and just like staring off like this, closing your eyes, and just let whatever come in and just relax. That's meditation. You don't have to do like you don't have to do any of that. Just basic meditation is just trying to get your mind to be quiet down so you can feel everything that's going on around you. That's meditation. You know, and when you get good at this, guys, you start to know everything about your body, man. Like, I've gotten so good at this, I can sit back and I can know when my body is metabolizing my food. I know when my body's digesting my food. How many people can do that? I know when the food and the enzymes start to digest. I know when my metabolizes. You know how I can know? Because I'm so connected to my body and the senses. Like, I know when my heart, I chill there. I know exactly after I eat, I know how many hours when my body will start to break my food down. And it's not because you're going to feel your stomach. No, because my heart rate increases. When my heart rate increases, I know that I'm metabolizing my food. How many people can do that? And I can feel when your sweat pores open up, because when you metabolize and your body starts to sweat or starts to burn the calories. That's what I'm talking about. That's seeing beyond, or seeing into that higher thing. So the more sensitive you can become around your 3D world, the more you're able to access the hidden world. Do I believe in the existence of God? Yes, but a different God, not the God that Christianity make up or a God that religion make up. The God that I believe in is a wave of function, a singularity God. It's a consciousness God. It's the God that sets everything in motion for everything to create and evolutionize. For you to be a human, for you to have whatever you want. That's the God I believe in. This God does not have a son named Jesus Christ. I don't believe that. This God does not have sit on a throne. That doesn't. And I say that this is my personal experience because I've been in church. I was Christian, and I see this. This God is a consciousness. It doesn't judge anyone. It doesn't look down. It doesn't send you to heaven or hell, because none of that. This God is just a pure consciousness that says, whatever you focus on, you're going to get. If you focus on good, I'm going to give you good. You focus on bad, you're going to get bad. That's the God I believe in. The God that Christianity, that's someone else's God. That's a man-made God. That's someone else's story. And I'm not going to be sold to someone else's story, because I was sold to someone else's story when I was a kid. Now, Jesus Christ, I believe there was a Jesus Christ, but he was more like a spiritual, like a, what do you call it, ascended master, a teacher, someone like that. That's as far as I go. But I don't believe, and this is my person, I don't believe there's a God that sit on a throne and send his son to a Virgin Mary to die, because my journey has taught me and showed me that none of that is true. Based on, this is me now. This guys, I'm showing you my journey. I was a Christian, I studied the Bible and all that. And then when I got into this part of it and I see how reality works and the quantum physics aspect of it, I was like, wow. And then I discovered what religion is. It's a business. It's an agenda. It's like stuff they make up, a lot of stuff they make up in it. And I don't want to discourage anyone. I mean, if that's what you believe in, I respect that. If you're a Christian, that's fine. You got to find your own way. But this is my truth, and this is what's been working, and this is what I've discovered. Now, angels, it's another thing. Now, angels, I believe angels are more like, as someone said, energetic, or from a different dimension of other beings. Because now I believe that there are others, intelligent civilizations, more advanced than us. They probably engineered us. We talk about chromosome number 2 that's attached to the end of your genome, your telomere. Your telomere is what controls your aging. The slower your telomere gets, the less you age. The more damage your telomere gets from free radicals and stuff like that, it breaks down the components of your DNA, and then your DNA becomes damaged, and that's how you age. Your skin sags, you feel less tired. That's all tied to that. But at the chromosome number 2 is at the edge of the telomere, and that chromosome was never evolved. It couldn't evolve naturally. It had to be genetically engineered, and then someone had to do that. I mean, that's not a myth. That's a fact. You can go if you want to go research any biologist, epidemiologist, and they'll show you. Ask them about chromosome number 2. They cannot explain it. It doesn't have a natural evolutionary line. Okay? You need to know this stuff. You got to stop living under a rock. Many people live under a rock. So, because this is going to free your mind, it's going to free you to see what reality really is. You're going to free you to create more abundance in your life. You can have anything you want, because everything is just here already. Everything comes from nothing. Do you know that? Nothing creates everything. So everything is really nothing. Let me repeat that. Everything came from nothing. Nothing is everything. When this universe began, it began from a singularity, a plasma, a hot plasma. People say, well, okay, what about atoms? Where do quantum particles come from? Where does atom come from? It comes from plasma. Plasma is this hot, let's call it liquid energy. And what happens when the plasma cooled in the early universe, the plasma cooled and the particles started to form. But it came from a singularity. No one knows beyond the singularity is what you would call God, because there's no, that creates physics. But from a single point of nothing became everything. So if you were smart, and this is what I did, if you were smart and you understood what I'm saying, so I said, okay, so nothing is everything. So let me just not be attached to nothing, and I'll get everything. That's what I did. So I am attached to nothing. What I mean by that, let me get deeper. I don't get attached to physical stuff, to the money, to the everything. None of that matters to me. It's like I'm just flowing through it. So because I'm flowing through it, it just comes to me. Because I'm not attached to that stuff. Because I know, like, from nothing became everything. So I reverse engineered it. I said, what? And you can do it with people. You've done it before. How about people when you forget about them and you like stop, they start sweating you and chasing you? How about stuff when you forget about it, you don't want it anymore, it starts to find you? Do you think that's a coincidence? That's the law, man. So if you want to learn something deep here, Be attached to nothing and you will attract everything. There's a saying like that. They say that all the time. So that was another profound thing. So now I live my life by not being attached to anything. I go with the flow now. Yeah, flow. CERN already found the God particle. It's called a Higgs boson. What they're searching for now is called a graviton, which they think gravity, the particle of gravity. But I want to talk about these higher dimensions more, right? These higher dimensions are here, but we can't see them. In some of these dimensions, time doesn't exist. Did you know that? Some of these dimensions, if you're a higher being in that dimension, you could see us and see through us. You could see organs and everything from a 5D being. Even in some of these dimensions, you could use time as like a coordinate. You can technically go back in different points in time. Some of these dimensions are what we call the many worlds theory, or what we call the parallel worlds. In some of these dimensions, there exist parallel versions of you and I. Yep, these dimensions are there. Shifting, when you shift dimensions, someone asked about shifting. So here's the next thing you gotta know. Every single second, like this video is what, like 40 minutes up. Every single time you move, like I just move, I shift dimensions. You constantly shift dimensions. Because you know why? Because you are like an immaterial, energetic thing or being. So you're constantly moving in and out. Because think about it, the electron, it's constantly going from a wave to particle. Electrons appear and disappear all the time. You are an electron. You're made from that. So when the electron disappears and it comes back, if anyone can tell you, oh, I know where the electron goes, no one can tell you. Quantum physics can't even tell you where the electron goes. They just know it disappears and it comes back. All they can tell you is they can give you a guess of where it might appear, and that's even wrong. So I theorize. So where does the electron go when it disappears? This is my theory. I say the electron, when it disappears, it enters into one of those dimensions. Then it pops back in, and it goes back out, it pops back in. So we're constantly shifting dimensions. Because when it disappears and it reappears, it has to be in a dimension. So that's my theory. So far, my theories have worked. I have empirical evidence because it's my life. It's like manifested in my life, and I see stuff happening in my life. That's how I do my theories, and then I get the results. Some theories, they don't work. I tweak them, but the ones that are working is the ones where I'm visualizing it and I'm seeing things from an immaterial aspect, right? Those are working for me because things are like coming into my 3D world as physical stuff. So I know they work for me. And I think, well, if it works for me, I mean, I'm just a human being like everybody else, so I guess it could work for you. I don't see why not. Last time I checked, we all have the same brain. Well, the same composite. Brain composite. Right. Do you have empirical evidence that electrons quantum leap between higher dimensions? Of course not. I say that's my theory. No one has empirical evidence that electrons leap in higher dimensions. I mean, a lot of stuff is theory, my friend. There's it's a theory of relativity. There's no, it's a theory, but it's a damn good theory because it shows without theory of relativity, we couldn't have satellites, you couldn't have GPS. So theories are there, but that's my theory. But no one knows where an electron goes when it disappears. No one can ever know that. So with these higher dimensions now, so here's my theory again now when it comes to the many worlds interpretation, and this has been working for me as well. So now I started to think to myself, I said, all right, so I am made from a particle of atomic components, which you are made from that. And I break my particle down, it becomes string, or we call string theory evidence. So now I know an atom is predominantly just empty. You call it empty space, but space is not really empty. They say 99% of space is empty, but it's not. But let's just use, for argument's sake, 99% of space in atom. So you and I are 99% more empty, right? So now we discovered that we have what we would call the observable universe, and then the universe. Now we know we have multiverse. So now you're going to see things move from universe to multiverse, which takes us into the many worlds interpretation now. So now in the universe, let's go to the universe so you could understand this. So in the universe, I am made from a particular amount of particles. So are you. And now we know that the universe is infinite. So let me show you how they discovered the universe is infinite. Basically, a few years ago, they shined a laser. And if the laser came back curved, it would show that the universe would come back around on itself. But if the laser kept going straight, then we know it had to keep going in infinity, because space is continually expanding. So they've shot the laser, and the laser, the math came back, and everyone pretty much assured now that the universe is infinite. Okay. So now, when I knowing that now, I said to myself, all right. So that means if the universe is infinite, and the particles that make me, they are not infinite. So the particles that make you are not infinite. That means they have to repeat at some point. So because the universe is infinite, Mark have to repeat. There have to be another version of Mark somewhere out there. Not only that, there has to be an infinite versions of me. And not only infinite versions, but infinite versions of me doing different things. In other words, everything that is ever possible, I have done it somewhere in a parallel universe. Because, let's go back again, universe is infinite, particles must repeat, so somewhere down the line, there have to be another version of you. So I thought, okay, I thought about that. I said, all right, let me test that theory then. So, what if I start to visualize my parallel self, like the version I want to be? Like I wanted to win the lottery and I did it. I visualized myself winning. Maybe I tapped into that Mark that won the lottery in a parallel version, and I took that information and came into this world and I made it this universe. What about Mark that wanted to own a business or whatever? I did whatever Mark wanted to learn a new talent. I started doing all that stuff, and I started to get this stuff. So that's when I started saying, okay, this parallel universe thing seems to be real, because the stuff that I'm visualizing, it's like I'm tapping into my parallel self. I'm getting information from that future Mark or that parallel Mark. And now, why that is possible is because something called quantum entanglement. Science, here's another one. You can go check this out. Physicists can never tell you or explain to you why quantum entanglement works. It shouldn't work. Quantum entanglement says that a particle can become entangled, and if I sling it to the edge of the universe, it will immediately know I've slung it to the edge of the universe with no time delay. Remember now, the universe has a speed limit. Speed of light, 184,000 miles per second. Nothing can go faster than the speed of light. That's the universal speed. But yet, a quantum particle will go, it's instantaneous. It doesn't, speed of light doesn't affect that. They don't know why. So now I said, okay, so maybe my parallel self, I can tap into my parallel self, because if I'm made from a particle, I must be entangled with myself. Even if they're all in these different universes, I've got to be entangled. Then I found somebody, this dude, many years ago, named Burt Goldman. This old guy, 89 or 90-year-old guy. And this guy started talking about quantum jumping, and this guy was doing what I was thinking. He found out to tap into his parallel self. This guy was like 90 years old. I think he's dead now. But he was 90 years old. This guy learned like 5 different languages. He learned to play the piano. He got in the best shape of his life at 90 years old. And he said, I tapped into my parallel self. People may know his name or know Burt Goldman. Go look him up. He's dead though. So when I said that, I started doing it myself. And I started to change. That's what I'm showing you guys. That's what I'm showing you something here, man. I'm putting knowledge out that they're not gonna put in schools and teach you. You're not gonna know this stuff, because it's not designed to like